Hi guys, this is chapter 3 in your leadership book. And this chapter is going to explore the contemporary thinking about leadership and management, paying specific attention to that emergent 21st century thinking. So when we think about the factors affecting healthcare trends, we need to consider elderly population is growing at a very fast pace. Healthcare reform and addressing those nurse shortages, which have been quite more significant, right, since the pandemic. We need to look at reduction in healthcare reimbursements, some new quality imperatives, emphasis on sustainability, shifting our in-care from inpatient to community outpatient settings, being innovative and technologically advanced, and then actually looking at our organizational culture and hopefully focusing more on that customer care. So we know that the recent COVID-19 pandemic impact on healthcare organizations kind of went rampant, right? Short-term, long-term supply chain shortages of personal protective equipment, medications, vaccines, right? We had lots of really short-term supply. I think we can all remember not being able to have gowns readily available. Gloves were on a shortage. It was a little bit of a terrifying incident for a while. In addition, healthcare organizations really struggled to ensure both worker safety and maintain an adequate workforce. And telehealth and virtual care strategies altered not only where care could be provided, but actually who could provide that care. As we think of shifting leadership and management thinking, most 21st century nurse leader managers will need to improve and add to their leadership skill set to meet all the emerging challenges that we are now seeing in our healthcare system. Leadership and management concepts more recently focus on full range leadership theories, which we talked about in that last chapter, by rediscovering the importance of organizational context, increasingly recognizing it as important. The levels of analysis must be considered. Potential boundary conditions may impact transformational leadership, and interactional leadership theories have gained a lot of prominence. Full range leaders are those leaders that can apply principles of transformational, transactional, and that laissez-faire at any given time. As a result of interactive leadership theories that emerged in the second decade of the 21st century, concepts such as strength-based leadership have become a part of the leader-manager repertoire. Strength-based leadership focuses on the development or empowerment of workers' strengths, as opposed to identifying those problems. It improves underperformance and it addresses weaknesses and obstacles. Research suggests that using a strength-based approach, even at a young age, can have a profound impact on the ability of individuals to self-manage and to regulate their emotions. Like strength-based leadership, appreciative leadership focuses on the recognition of strengths in others, and then using relational processes and methods, builds upon those strengths to collectively make things happen. This is about recognizing potential in others and supporting them to accomplish more. Appreciative leadership asks their followers what they want to accelerate and grow in, because knowing what the followers appreciate, if that makes any sense. Jim Collins developed 5 levels of leadership skills that need to be present in any organization by studying almost 1,500 companies. Collins found 5 levels of leadership skills and acknowledged that great organizations have leaders with qualities that are possessed in all 5 of these levels. These leadership skills include knowledge, team building, the ability to help groups achieve goals, humility, and empowerment of others through servant leadership. The 5 levels are listed below. You can also find those in your book. Servant leadership is a type of leadership in which individuals lead by placing others, such as employees, customers, and the community first. The servant leader is more concerned with the needs of others than themselves and lead through their service. Values are the pillars that uphold the entire structure of servant leadership. Honesty, truth, compassion, and acceptance are some of the intrinsic core values shared by servant leaders. Even though a main focus of servant leadership is the servant part, we can't forget about the leadership aspect. This type of leader still needs to be creative and promote their vision and their goals. We've talked about positive impact of followers for leaders in transformational leadership, but what about the negative followers' impact? Followers can and will mislead leaders, intentional or not. The principal agent theory emerged and suggested that not all followers, or we may call them agents, are inherently motivated to act in the best interests of the leader or employer. And sometimes you might also see that written as a principle. The risk then is that agents or followers will pursue their own objectives or interests instead of that of their principal or leader or employer. An example may be online grocery shopping, right? A store employee acts as the agent and goes around picking up items ordered by the customer, which is the principal. The two parties do not align in the fact that store employees are encouraged to pick as many items as possible. However, the customer's interests lie in obtaining foods with long dates, items that are often more fresh. So often we find that upon delivery, some goods run out of date the next day. I've honestly had that happen with me, right? We order milk. I am always the first customer that's digging through finding the longest date. But your store employee or your agent, the follower, right, doesn't care. They're going to pick as many items as they can, do it as fast as they can, and they're not going to pay attention to what the customer's needs actually might be, or the customer's best interest might be. Human capital theory represents the capability of the individual. Individuals and or organizations will invest in education and professional development if they believe that such an investment will have a future payoff. So an example might include tuition reimbursement for nurses to go back to school to earn higher degrees. That will translate into higher productivity and financial returns. Human capital can refer to a group's collective knowledge, skills, and abilities. Human capital can also be viewed from an organizational perspective as well, which would refer to the collective group knowledge or experience defined as social capital. A more recent theory that is gaining prominence is that of emotional intelligence. This refers to the ability to perceive, understand, and control one's own emotions, as well as being able to be empathetic and see things from another person's perspective. Really being open-minded. Emotional intelligence is critical for building a cooperative and effective team. Goleman identified 5 components of emotional intelligence: self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. So when we think about self-awareness, this is the ability to recognize and understand one's moods, emotions, and drives and how it affects others. When we think about self-regulation, this is that ability to control or redirect disruptive impulses or moods to suspend judgment. Motivation is a passion to work for a reason that go beyond money or status. You're pursuing a goal with energy and commitment. Empathy is that ability to understand and accept people's emotions. And then social skills is an ability to find common ground in handling relationships and building those networks. So all 5 of these components are really, really important when we think about our emotional intelligence. Authentic leadership states that the leader's principles and their conviction to act accordingly that inspire the follower. There are several different theorist opinions about authentic leadership. The first theorist that we'll talk about is Avolio, and they suggest that there are 4 factors that cover the components of authentic leadership. And in order to lead, leaders must be true to themselves and their values and act accordingly. Those 4 factors are balanced processing, internalized moral perspective, relational transparency, and self-awareness. So when we think about balanced processing, this refers to analyzing data rationally before making a decision. Internalized moral perspective suggests that the authentic leader is guided by internal moral standards that guide the behavior. Relational transparency refers to openly sharing feelings and information appropriate to a situation. And then self-awareness, again, is that ability to recognize and understand one's moods, emotions, and drives, as well as their effects on others. According to Shirey, which is just another theorist, there are 5 distinguishing characteristics of an authentic leader: purpose, value, heart, relationships, and self-discipline. Authentic leaders take time to develop, and not all leaders strive to be authentic. Many times leaders are flawed, and to believe that all good leaders are authentic makes us blind to human conditions. So let's talk a little bit about rebel leaders. Those who are rebel leaders don't go with the status quo. They're seeking out new and exciting things. These rebel leaders are usually also thoughtful leaders. Geno's 8 principles of rebel leaders include, you see those on the slide there: seek out the new, encourage constructive dissent, open conversation, reveal yourself, learn everything, find freedom in constraints, lead from the trenches, and foster happy accidents. Excuse me. Thought leaders can also be organizations. They don't have to be individuals. As we move into the future, thought leaders will likely endure issues that continue to be of critical importance to nursing and healthcare, and will need to address new emerging problems of significance. This may include nursing shortages that really are expected, according to your book, in the next 5 to 10 years. And I think, again, we're already starting to see some of that. Agile leaders have the ability or the agility to think in many ways so that they can be flexible, adaptable, and fast in their decision making. Agile leaders listen deeply and ask powerful questions to gain insight. An open mind helps them to develop people and become an agent for change. These leaders can tell that people like to be communicated with and recognized differently. They understand that they cannot use a one-size-fits-all model. Thought leadership, which we've hit on just a bit, is a newer theory. It refers to any situation whereby one individual convinces another to consider a new idea, a new product, or a new way of looking at things. Thought leaders attract followers not by any promise of representation or empowerment, but by their risk-taking and vision in terms of being innovative. This leadership theory applies to a person who is recognized among peers for innovative ideas and who demonstrates the confidence to promote these ideas. Ideas put forth by thought leaders are future-oriented and generally problem-oriented. Other leadership theories have gained prominence in the past decade are those of reflective thinking and practice. Reflective thinking is a form of self-analysis that results in learning and may lead to action that reflects new perspectives gained. A primary requirement is radical honesty to avoid self-deception. Reflective practice is a learning process. That means taking an experience at an initial point for learning from the experience, and then taking action that reflect a new perspective taken. I really hope that as you've gone through nursing school, you've been able to reflect. I always take a lot of time, and I really encourage when I have my clinical groups to take that drive home after a clinical setting and reflect. What experience did you have today? What did you learn from those experiences? And then how can you move forward with a different perspective? Regardless of if it was a great experience or a bad experience. The bad experiences, a lot of times you can reflect a lot with, right? You can gain some new perspective. What could I have said differently? What could I have done differently? How could I have approached it differently, right? And then you gain perspective. And that's really just reflective thinking. And I hope as each of you move forward into your nursing career that you continue that reflective thinking so that new perspective can be taken. Quantum leadership states that leaders must work together with subordinates to identify common goals, exploit opportunities, and empower staff to make decisions for organizational productivity to occur. We know that nursing is a dynamic and complex environment that is constantly changing and evolving. A quantum nurse leader is the one who copes with and adapts to the rapid change in conditions and in their environment. Uncertainty to the speed of access to data, information, and knowledge to fulfill the objectives of the organization. When we consider the emerging leadership theories, it becomes apparent that a paradigm shift has taken place, a transition from industrial age leadership to relationship age leadership. Industrial age leadership focuses on productivity and traditional top-down hierarchy management structures, where a relationship age leadership is grounded upon a leader's genuine investment in the personal and professional development of their followers. Servant leadership, appreciative leadership, agile leadership, reflective thought and practice, human and social capital, and emotional intelligence are all relationship-centered theories that address the complexity of the leader-follower relationship. So you can see that industrial age, we're shifting into that relationship age leader. Your book talks about Tamara McCleary, and she's just a speaker, author, and business expert. And she really just suggested that employee engagement is key to the relationship building. So to build this engagement, time, energy, and passion into caring must be invested in our employees. So as you guys graduate from nursing school and you head out into the future as new nurses, leading and managing in the 21st century is more complex. Leaders, managers are expected to have a really greater skill set than ever before. And I would almost guarantee that there's a handful of you out there that will be charge nurses in the next 6 months. You will be leaders of committees, of groups, some type of a leader in the hospital setting or in your nursing profession at some point in your career. So just be aware your skill set is going to be really set high at this point. And I have all the faith and trust that each and every one of you is going to be a great leader or manager one day. And that concludes chapter 3. If you have any questions, you can shoot me an email or we can chat about it in class. Thanks, guys.